Hey everybody, got one kind of final update for you on this TwoSun TS249 project knife. I finally got the anodizing to work and actually finally to pop quite a bit better with the blues I'm getting. Quick size comparison, I'll show you it against the Paramilitary 3 lightweight Spyderco, both 3-inch blades and everything. Obviously very different construction, very different knives. There you go. So basically, the story on this, I got this in a trade as a project knife to try out an anodization job on. I was able to, after quite a bit of experimenting, get this blue color on the main scales. I went for a bit of a bronze on the backspacer as well as the clip. And so this overall is what I've ended up with. Happy with the results, but this was definitely a tricky one to get right. So I wanted to go over a little bit some of the things I had to do in order to get this color to actually work. The mistake I made, and the thing to be aware of with this particular model, is that there was a coating on the actual titanium of the scales as well as the clip. The clip unfortunately did end up with some scratches on it because it didn't have the same coating. At one point, as I was getting annoyed trying to get it to work, my anodization bath got contaminated with salt because I was rushing and did something stupid. Hey, my first time, whatever. So there's a little bit of etching going on right along the edges there. Not the end of the world. The clip really is one of the weaker points of this whole knife anyway. But anyway, I had read about that coating. I knew I needed to be polishing it up first, and what I had read that worked well for a lot of knives that I was using for a while was just Barkeeper's Friend, relatively common kitchen kind of supply for polishing up silverware and whatnot, and it's helped put a nice sheen on some of my other titanium frame locks. I was also taking advantage of just this Dremel kind of tool with this cotton polishing wheel attachment. I would just kind of take this with some green compound like you'd use on a strop, load some of that up on here, and just kind of go along and polish up as much as the titanium as I could get in there, which was actually pretty helpful, especially for a lot of the curves going on with that guy. I wasn't having a whole lot of success with the anodization just using those, and eventually, after more and more work at it, what I finally did that made the difference was bumping up to a beefier grit of sandpaper, coarser stuff. This is just a sanding block kind of sponge kind of thing I just got from a dollar store. Not really with this in mind, but literally just taking this after the scales were apart and just sanding it down for a few minutes on as much of the surfaces as I could get access to with it. Finally seemed to get that coating off and allowed the actual solution to make better contact with the actual titanium to get the color to come out better. I did that, and then I went back with the Barkeeper's Friend and my little polishing wheel there to try to get that done. So that made this much tougher, but it was a good learning experience, at least from that standpoint of not being afraid to take something a little bit more heavy duty to the knife scale. I had concerns about scratching up the titanium and whatnot, but the fact of the matter is with the pressure I was using, the coating on it was going to scratch up and come off a lot faster than any titanium would with just something like that. I'll give a little bit of a comparison here since I also have a video of this new guy, the Wee Wisp, another Chinese little flipper guy here in titanium. This is the ano job that they did in blue on this guy, and just here's a comparison of how the saturations kind of come out. Reasonably good results with the setup I had. I used a 30 volt DC power supply that I had. Having one that actually had the little alligator clamps to clamp onto the titanium wire made a big difference. The other thing that did make quite a bit of difference, it seemed, was using just a ball of tinfoil basically for the cathode portion. That's the part that's actually hooked up to the ground connection, or the negative connection rather, in the circuit. Just because it had a lot more surface area than the watch links that I had initially been using that were actual titanium. But it works well just with any kind of metal that's non-conductive. It seemed like it was definitely just more important, or not non-conductive rather, but non-corroding, like, you know, steel or something. So aluminum worked well. It seemed like the bigger difference was getting something with a lot more surface area. The goal I read would be to have a cathode with more surface area than the anode, the piece that you're trying to change the color of. So yeah, this is you know, not bad. It was not an easy knife for a first attempt, but it was a learning experience, and in a way I feel a lot better prepared for more experimentation in the future with other, you know, other blades, other scales, other parts that hopefully might have a little bit more straightforward of a titanium going on, because between the coating as well as the curves, that made it difficult. A couple other things I'll point out about this guy as I've had it longer for more long-term impressions and whatnot. The action is definitely great. It's difficult to get it to fail a flip, which is, I think, to me, I guess the standard I would use for a great action. And it's broken in a little bit, and that certainly helped. The other thing is taking off all that coating that was on it, has smoothed it out a bit so that there's no longer any kind of issue with action getting gritty when it gets wet or anything like that. And yeah, overall pretty good. The close as well has gotten a lot smoother. It's not drop shutty. Don't think it'll ever will be with that kind of short-ish, slicey kind of blade. But it feels smooth, and that's really what you ask for with the flipper frame lock like this, especially at this price point. The last thing I'll point out, which I did mention in my first impressions, was just how blown away I really am, even more so by this blade at this point. I've got my hands on a TRM Neutron since then, which is exceptionally slicey. I had the Wii Kite Fin briefly, which is also just laser beam through phone book paper and whatnot. And of course, stuff like the Open L is always going to be kind of a king there, but this really is really up there with any of those, just as far as how, you know, how easily it just glides through material. And what I've kind of figured out, or I'm trying to ascertain with this, is that it feels really like this grind, this full flat grind, is going all the way to the edge. It almost feels like there is no secondary bevel on this at all. And basically what I mean by that is, if you'll forgive the artwork here, usually on a knife, the blade will be grind when you've got a flat grind, so that if you're looking at it in this dimension, you've got a grind and then it goes to an edge that is a little bit shallower of an angle like that. And that's the actual part that you're sharpening and removing when you sharpen it. This guy feels more like it's just straight. These edges go straight to the actual tip of the edge. I don't think that's actually the case. I'm sure that there is a tiny little bevel on there that would, you know, because you got to be able to sharpen it without just wearing away the entire blade. But it speaks to, I guess, thinness behind the edge is what, you know, people refer to that as, and that it feels very apparent when you're putting it through material and everything. I have no idea what the disadvantages would be of that, other than, you know, fragility to the edge. How much of that is steel dependent? This is, of course, 14C28N. Don't know much about it. Seems in line with VG10, CTS BD1N, and whatnot. A little bit more of a budgetish kind of thing, but, you know, it's fine all around stainless steel. And yeah, it's nothing I'd want to be really using on material much beyond, you know, paper, cardboard, food, pretty much. So I'll probably never really figure that out. You know, unfortunately with this guy, as you know, I brought out the Wisp right here. I mean, this has kind of abrogated my use for having the TwoSun around. And like I said, this was kind of a project thing anyway. So I'm going to be moving on from it and hopefully trying to get something else that's a value-ish kind of titanium frame lock guy like this to do some more anodization experimenting with. I'll probably be putting up for sale and everything. But overall, yeah, it's been an interesting knife. Definitely some interesting stuff going on with TwoSun. It's a cool model. I've been impressed with, like I said, the blade, the action, as well as the ergonomics are also quite good. So yeah, those are the results of my project there. Hope you think it's pretty too. I like how it came out. It looks a lot more interesting now than it did with just a straight, flat kind of gray look to it. And yeah, thanks for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day, and hope you enjoy your project as well if anybody else is experimenting. Bye.